right here.
Right, hang on. I'm in a bit of difficulty here. I think my there we go. I don't know why it's very slow tonight. Educate me, all wise ones. Yeah, it seems to be on a delay. So there you go. It does. This is going to be good. Yeah, I'm clicking on it, and there we go. I think it's fixed. Yeah, I'm clicking on it, and it's taken a while to actually come up. So let's start off with what do you think of the whole series as a whole?
The whole series as a whole was brilliant. I really liked it a lot. I thought that it was a really enjoyable show all the way through, and it really kept me guessing all the way to the end, because it wasn't until it wasn't until this last episode that I finally figured out what they were doing, and the way that they did it the whole time was what was throwing me for a loop. And being an avid comic reader of been reading comics since that comics that have come out since the 60s, and I've been reading them since I was, early 70s, so, but I've basically read everything that's come out from the 60s on.
Yeah.
And so, but a lot of these comics I've only read once or twice, so I'm not familiar with them by any means, and so I was completely convinced this was a new MCU story. This was completely original to the MCU until this very last episode.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my gosh, this is taken from the comics. They've just adapted it in a way that fits the MCU, which is what they've been doing all along, is they take ideas from the comics and they adapt them. What?
Like amalgamating characters, like 3 characters into one. It's like with Kang at the end.
That actually wasn't Kang. Absolutely,
not the Kang. Not Kang.
No, it's absolutely, because that exact character is in the comics as that exact name.
He remains.
Yeah,
it was him, but it is he's in the comics as He Who Remains in Thor 256 or whatever it was, and in that issue, in that arc, there's a 3-issue arc of that story, and that whole story is Thor doing what Loki did in this series. So it's very 245. That's it. 244, 245, and 246. I think it was that way. Where Thor, or no, wait, I think this is the last issue of it. I think it's 243, 244, and 245 have a 3-issue arc where Thor does exactly what Loki did in this series, and he ends up at the temple at the end of time, this is that castle place, and he meets He Who Remains, and they call him that exactly in the comics. The exact same words, the same dialogue that they have in this show is in that comic, and it's like, except in the comic he's an old white guy, where here they made him, they updated him for modern take, but so everybody thought it was going to be another version of Loki, or it was going to be Kang, but it absolutely is not Kang. There's no way that in any way, shape, or form that's Kang. It's completely not. Well, it is at the end when he goes back to the TVA and another version of him. They actually show Kang the Conqueror as the one statue, don't they? In the TV, in that TVA.
No, I thought it was just a picture. It was just a statue. It was just a statue of him. It wasn't a statue of Kang.
Oh, Kang, because that is a different version of the TVA. Whoever's done it, Renslayer or Kang, the different version of Kang has changed the TVA onto what timeline they want. I think that's what Renslayer was doing. I think she was going back to change
TVA, because Mobius didn't even know Loki was at the end.
Oh yeah,
So they've changed the timeline. And
Yeah,
I think that it's
Loki
kind of
appeared in a different.
They're running things.
But that was just another version of him. It's not Kang.
Well, he said though, I've been named all different names. The Conqueror. When he said the Conqueror,
he did say the Conqueror, yes, but I don't know. I'm not convinced that it's Kang. No one will convince me until they.
Kang's going to be Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah, until they say Kang as his name, I'm not convinced.
There's going to be multiple versions. Going to be multiple versions.
But what really gets to me is that these writers at Marvel and the MCU, they're really digging deep, because I don't think I saw any YouTube video or anyone at all say it could be, He Who Remains. It's going to be from this Thor comic. Like no one guessed that it was this guy.
I did.
You knew who.
I think I've got it down to either 3 or 4 people, but it was Kang, Loki, He Who Remains, or Mobius. I think just throwing that in. I thought Mobius could be He Who Remains.
How did you even know about He Who Remains, though? I mean, he's in one. He only shows up in that one Marvel comic, and that's it. He never shows up again, except for a What If comic and a couple of Elseworld things. But it's like
that is his story, isn't it? So
yeah, but yeah. If you said that, you're probably the only person in all of YouTube that did, because I was watching IGN, New Rockstars, all of them, and they were all just 100%. It's either another Loki or it's Kang.
Yeah.
And nobody guessed.
I think I said it on
He Who Remains.
Livestream last week.
Yeah.
So you can go back and watch it and confirm that.
Oh yeah. No, I don't need to. I believe you. But yeah, it's the same guy that was in the show. It's a guy who he basically realized that he's a scientist guy that lived in, and he realized that things were going wrong in the multiverse. And he's kind of like Rick from Rick and Morty. And originally he got a council of Ricks together to sort of work in help each.
The 3 TVA people were actually 3 versions of him.
Yeah. And but then the one realized that things were going bad, and there was a war going on basically behind the scenes and all this stuff. So he basically canceled all of the other ones of his versions and created one exact timeline and created the TVA, and to keep that one timeline intact. And Thor ended up confronting him in the comics the same way that Loki do in this. And then in the comics, he ends up, they end up destroying him, and the multiverse is shattered from then on. There's in the comics, it created 2 Earths,
Secret War.
Yeah, it created 2 Earths in the comics, but eventually through modern times, there became like a multiverse of different ones, and the one that we mostly follow is Earth 616, just in case anyone's wondering.
That's the comic.
Yeah.
Is the MCU is it 1999?
Is that what they're saying? I don't know, actually.
I think it's something like that.
Yeah.
The comic, the 616 is a comic.
Is basically the comic the mainstream comic universe is 616. Yeah, I didn't know they had a number for the. That's cool if they have a number for the MCU, because that could be interesting.
Different. It's more like the same stories as say. It's amalgamate. They're all throwing everything together works.
Well, like in because they didn't own the rights to Fantastic Four or Silver Surfer, and they hadn't done anything yet with any of those characters. So when they brought Thanos in, even if they owned the rights to Fantastic Four and Silver Surfer, I don't think they would have changed anything, because they hadn't built up those characters yet to where they were in the comics. So like when Hulk crashes through Doctor Strange's window, and this banner, it was the Silver Surfer in the comic book who crashed through the window. So they've always altered things, But going back to the obscurity of things, it's like it's another, like, Agatha was a surprise to me also, because a lot of people were guessing, there's something going on with Mephisto, there's something going on, blah, 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 with all these other characters. But I heard a couple people think it could be Agatha, but like a lot of those people were shooed off as no. The mainstream people are thinking it's one of these guys that's behind the whole thing in WandaVision, And then when Agatha actually showed up, I mean, that was from like Avengers Annual number 6 or something. Like, no one pays attention to a character that gets a first appearance at an annual, and then, you know what I mean? And like, it was just kind of a weird, like, thing. And now with this, with He Who Remains, it's kind of like these writers are really digging in deep, and they could pull anyone out of the comics from the most obscure thing you could think of and probably turn them into a big bad or a really cool, really cool character. And it's,
so I mean, the thing is, they haven't brought mutants into the MCU yet, and Fantastic Four, they are classed as mutants, aren't they?
Well, no, because they got their powers from cosmic energy. So
yeah,
they were on a space either, depending on what you wanted to say, either a spaceship or a space station, and the cosmic rays went through the station, and it gave them, they weren't protected from the cosmic rays, and it gave them all different powers. And the powers were related to their personality, because Sue Storm, right before she gets the powers, Sue Storm famously had an argument with Reed saying, "You don't ever see me. It's like I'm invisible." And she said that in the comics too, and it's funny. And then Ben was always the strong, rough, and tough one who could take on any task and do anything that Reed wanted, Reed's best friend. And Johnny Storm was kind of like the hotshot pilot, so he got the flame powers.
Captain America.
Yeah, he's Captain America. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the mutants are going to be the interesting thing. They're going to show up at some point, and it's going to be I think it's going to be some kind of weird cameo or some kind of unexpected thing when we first see the first mutant.
Did you see the Deadpool thing this week? Was it yesterday?
Oh, is that the one with
Korg?
With Korg, I saw, but
yeah, that was brilliant.
Is there another one where he's a princess? I gotta check that out if there is.
Yeah, he's that must have cost a fortune.
I know, the Korg commercial. Yeah.
Really must. It was really, I love Korg though.
Well, it was funny too, because I didn't know that Taika Waititi was doing and acting in this other film with Ryan Reynolds, and then and Korg is Taika Waititi. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's funny that Korg's like, I don't know, I think that guy's pretty cool.
Oh dear.
But it actually made me, I'll tell you this much, it actually made me want to see Guy, because prior to that, I saw one trailer and I saw the poster, and I knew it'd be funny because it's Ryan Reynolds, but I was still like, I'll wait for a while, I don't need to see it. But now after seeing that and realizing that Guy is in a video game, which they didn't tell you in the first teaser trailer, they didn't hint that he's living out a life as a video game character. Now I'm really interested in that story,
Basically Grand Theft Auto, isn't it?
Yeah, he's living Grand Theft Auto,
I'd watch anything with Ryan Reynolds in.
Yeah.
Even Green Lantern.
I did see it,
Yeah, I can remember nothing about it. I wouldn't mind watching it again, to be honest with you.
If they had done the whole movie in CG, that film would have been a knockout hit, Yeah. Because the beginning part where those aliens are on the planet and they crack through and they discover the yellow smoke being and release them, like that CG, that whole scene is CG. And if the whole movie had been done like that, it would have been a brilliant film.
I love Green Lantern. I really love Green Lantern. I've read all the Blackest Night. That is just fantastic.
Yeah. So now Razaf's saying something that brings up an interesting thing. Is like, is this going to be built upon in multiverse films and other television shows, even maybe What If?
Yeah.
And then Loki season 2 won't pick up from where Loki season 1 ends. Loki season 2 will pick up from wherever we are once all those films and everything are out.
I don't know. I think it might just pick up. It might not. It might be. There might be a time gap. But
yeah, because
time works differently anyway.
Yeah, true. Like, because I'm just like, are we going to have to wait till season 2 to see what happens after this show, or like where it ended today, or are we going to be able to move on and see like repercussions of what happened here and what happens with him, with if it's Kang or not? You know what? Yeah. Like, are we going to see that character show up in Doctor Strange?
I would like Loki to pop up in each film. You know, just like
or
a second, like where's Wally? Just
like, or things like that. Yeah, like is Loki going to pop up in other films?
You've got to catch a glimpse of him in each film. That'd be pretty cool.
Stuff like that would be neat. Yeah. It definitely left me with like what the heck are they doing and where are they going to go now? Like what? It's just like, and then who are they going to bring out? Because like now I'm kind of thinking back at WandaVision and thinking at this one and I'm just going like, man, they could pull out anyone from any, like everyone's thinking of the heavy hitters like Kang and Annihilus and things like that, and it's like, but they could pull anybody out. I mean, it's just, it's so weird. Like when you start thinking about it and going like, man, but it's also really cool that they're digging in to things that that a lot of comic readers wouldn't expect, you know, like, and digging into areas that the general public's not going to know about.
They've got to please the comic readers by putting things in from the comics, but also please them by not keeping it the same.
Yes, yeah.
Because you're going to know what's going to happen. You don't want to know what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's true. Like if I had caught on earlier in the season that Loki's doing what Thor did in that arc, I probably would have went over to my comics and pulled that arc out and reread it, and then went, "Oh, look where they're going! I wonder if they're going here." You know, and you're right. It was cool to wait till the end to do that, and then go. I'm going to go back and pull those comics out, and they're really buried. I don't know if I can even get to them.
I would. I'll be straight there again now.
They're behind that giant wall of boxes that's in the dining room. They're behind all that. So it's a day's
boxes again.
It's a day's worth of pulling those boxes out and and then getting to the comics behind them.
Keep me busy. I liked the end where it was like a Willy Wonka situation, wasn't it? Where it was more or less giving him the chocolate factory at the end.
Yeah.
I'm old now. I don't want to do it anymore. You two can do it. But the thing is, it diverted because he said he knows what's going to happen till the end of time. And then when he said, I'm giving it to you because I know you two will sort it out. But then he says, I don't know what's going to happen now.
Yeah, because something happened, I think, during the conversation, because he was just kind of like, I think we've crossed over a line. You know, and you could hear you could hear the things in the background.
Yeah,
the thunder.
I think that was Renslayer.
I don't know.
After Renslayer went through that portal, she changed something.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
and they were looking around like, "Who's that?" Wasn't he? So yeah,
and he might not, and even him, he might not have known she was going to do that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When she did that, that's what caused the divergence.
He did say he knew everything. Then he said he didn't know everything.
Yeah.
She must have gone back and changed something.
Yeah, that could be right.
They must be working together because, as you know, in the comics, they are lovers, aren't they?
Which one?
Renslayer and Kang are lovers, aren't they?
No, Kang has a different wife from a different time period, from a future time period. Kang's wife gets locked. She basically disappears, and it's because of what happened in the past.
They do have a thing.
I don't remember them.
Loki didn't accept the job. No, it just seemed out of character for Loki, really, doesn't it? He has changed. His character has changed in this series from where he was, because he was a bad guy at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then he's learned to accept his fate, and then he's a good guy at the end. And I could understand why Sylvie wanted to kill him, because of what she's been through all her life. He's the cause of what she's been through all her life. But Loki's arc changed from being the bad guy to the good guy, which I don't know if I like. Something wrong with this chat tonight. It'll come up in a minute. There we go, Luke. That's what made me think that was the end of time, or end of time as he knew it. Yeah, it was meant to be at the end of time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Time carried on. She didn't know what was going to happen after that. You should be on here, Luke. talking about this. This chat, I do apologise. It's really slow tonight. I'm clicking on it and then it's taking a couple of seconds to go on to another one. So yeah, I really think it was like Willy Wonka. You live with nothing, sir. You lose, sir.
Oh, so they're claiming that she is Ravonna. Okay, they're making her. Oh, so they're combining Ravonna and her into Ravonna Renslayer for the MCU. Okay. Because Kang's wife is Ravonna, which was the daughter of King Corellius in Kang the Conqueror's 40th century. And Kang and Ravonna got married, and then something that Captain America did in the past erased Ravonna from existing.
Yeah.
So, but before she fully disappeared, Kang puts her in a time bubble that's outside of time. And then that's the whole reason Kang appears in the Marvel comics is because he goes back in time to stop Captain America from doing whatever he did that erases his wife, Ravonna. But what they're trying to do here is they're making her Ravonna Renslayer and saying that she... So the wife and Renslayer are going to end up being the same person, even though in this show
they're amalgamating a lot of characters into one.
Yeah, I guess so.
Ironically, so maybe created Sylvie, and it was Sylvie that killed her. I think that is why she got pulled from the timeline, because he knew she was going to do it, so they pulled her from the timeline.
Could be, yeah.
I think that is why, yeah.
And the other part of it too is I have a feeling that Sylvia is also going to be Amora, which is the Enchantress. Instead of having two Lokis running around, I have a feeling they're going to say okay, Loki is Loki and Sylvia is going to be the Enchantress.
Yeah,
because they never had Amora or whatever in any of the Thor films, so the Enchantress has never popped up yet.
It was definitely Loki though, because it actually said Loki.
Yeah. She's definitely a Loki, yes. But
Sai's not watched it yet. Oh, Sai. Cheers anyway for dropping in. This click. Do me head in. Sometimes it'll work, and sometimes it's it's doing me head. You're doing me head in.
But that's another part of the MCU that keeps us comic guys guessing, because they are sort of combining certain characters and maybe in changing origins, and in some ways it's like I really want to see how this goes out, because if this guy does end up being Kang, or another version of him ends up being Kang, I don't want them to destroy the Kang that I know and love.
No,
because I'm in love with Kang as a character because
me too.
of his wife disappearing in the future and him coming back in time to stop Captain America. Yeah. And I personally think that they've set that up beautifully for the MCU because Cap already went back in time to put the stones back, and then he chose to stay back in time with Peggy. So while he was with Peggy getting old, something during that time, during the 40 odd years or whatever it was, he was living out his life with Peggy until they became old people, and he turns the shield over at the end to Sam. Somewhere in that 40 years, he screwed up Kang's future, is what I was hoping they would do in the MCU. So when Kang comes back from the 40th century to save his wife, he's got to go back to a time when Cap was living with Peggy and try to stop him from whatever it is he does.
Yeah, I mean, we do see Peggy getting hauled into the TVA. Was it the first episode?
Yeah, wasn't there a Peggy that was pulled up? Yeah.
So...
And I thought it would be a perfect way for like Chris Evans to come back because I know he doesn't want to do anything for a couple of years, but he will be back in like say 3 to 5 years. He'll come back and reprise his role. So I thought, well, if they plant little seeds all along and of Kang doing stuff or whatever, and then down the road he comes back to fight Captain America, and then the whole Avengers has to get together to save Cap and stop Kang, it would be a pretty cool way to bring him back,
Yeah.
But now if they end up combining him and Kang, and an alternate version of him is who ends up being Kang, it could be because Kang he does often say, "I am the master of time," and throws out all those lines about being the master of all time and all space and everything. He even does it in that Avengers. Like, if you really want a good Kang story, go on the Disney Plus and watch Earth's Mightiest Heroes, the Avengers cartoon. And I think it's what episode was it?
I don't think it's on Disney Plus UK. So I've been looking for it, but I don't think it's on. I'm going through them all though. I'm going through all the cartoons. I'm Iron Man at the moment. And,
it's season 1. Yeah, it's season 1, episode 17, 18, and 19. And
I'll see if it's on, but
of Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
Yeah.
And they do 17, 18, 19. And it just does the whole thing with Kang coming back in time to save his wife
to check it.
And it's beautiful the way they do it in that. And I know they wouldn't do the same thing, but it'd be cool to see something similar to that happen in the MCU with MCU characters. And that's the Kang that I love is that arc, and then you see him again and again after that, but
well, I thought some backstory on Kang. Well, it's basically what he said, really. But he's Reed Richards, Reed Richards from Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
He's a distant ancestor of his. So it all links into Fantastic Four for when that comes out as well.
True, it does, yeah.
It's all connected. That's what I like about Marvel. It's all they have connected it so well as well. I mean, all the comics link into each other, and now all the movies do as well.
Yeah, movies and TV shows actually. But
yeah.
What's really cool about What If is that you notice in the background while they're going through the different stories of What If, you see the Watchers, and
because somebody who is it that narrates as a Watcher? I forgot. It's like a famous actor who narrates as a Watcher.
And it's pretty cool because previously we wouldn't have been able to get that because the Watchers were lumped in with the Fantastic Four license and everything. So it's pretty cool that we're getting the Watchers in the MCU as a whole because that's just really neat. Yeah,
definitely. It's just fantastic how they have connected all these movies, now the TV series, and something that happened in one of the first movies is connected to something that's happening now. I mean, it's like the Black Widow, where there's that throwaway line in Avengers from Loki. and they made a whole movie about it.
Oh yes, I do what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Thingy's daughter.
You killed
Yeah.
such so and so's daughter, and then they picked
but-
it up in the film. Yeah, it is brilliant the way they do that stuff.
Oh,
yeah,
it's fantastic.
yeah.
Oh, yes. I mean, the line, the line where Yelena is taking the piss out of Black Widow for doing the superhero line and doing all this with the air.
Yeah, I love that.
Actually, something the actress said to Scarlett Johansson on set, and the writer heard it and put it in the movie.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. That's funny.
Yes. Florence Pugh was reading about if you did the superhero landing, you'd break all your bones. And she was telling Scarlett Johansson, he said, if you do that, you're going to break all your bones. And then the writer was listening. He said, sorry, I was listening to you. Can I put that in the movie? So that is the best scene in the movie.
Yeah, it's funny. And then they have her do it when she jumps out of the ceiling. It's like
that's fantastic. I love it.
She lands like that, then she even gets up and it's like, oh.
But when she's doing it, though, when she's in this show, when you're doing all this, that was just I was just in stitches watching that.
But you want to know one of the things that really made me really happy was
Yes,
this is going to go back a little bit. So when me and my brother walked out of Avengers Endgame, my brother, I remember he was saying that this is it. He's okay, but He Who Remains is a totally different character. I will wait until they say Kang in a
different character in the comics, isn't it? But again, I think they've amalgamated him.
I will wait till they say Kang in a film because I expected him to say his name was Kang, but he kept saying it was He Who Remains, and He Who Remains is a totally different character than Kang in the comics.
Yeah, in the comics. But
in the comics, yeah.
He's a variant, basically.
But my brother,
Sylvie being Loki, she's renamed herself Sylvie, but she's Loki.
Yeah, but she's a Loki. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when we walked out of the theater after Endgame, my brother was kind of like, for him, he thought Marvel was done. He was like, I'm not sure how much more movies I'm going to watch. And then he got into the TV shows, and he was like, some of these are cool because they're sort of throwing back to like what happened during, like he likes Winter Soldier a lot. That's one of his favorite characters, and Captain America is a favorite character of his. So Sam and Winter Soldier sort of worked for him because it was dealing with a lot of his favorite characters and favorite storyline stuff, So it was nice for me to see that, like, we got it on Disney Plus, and then I wrote my brother and I said, hey, we have it on Disney Plus, log in, you can watch it now.
Yeah.
And then he watched it anyways, but he was like, because I asked him, I was like, you want to go to the theater and watch Black Widow with me? And he's like, no. He goes, I have no interest in seeing that movie. He goes, I'll see Shang-Chi, but he goes, I'm not seeing this movie. I'm just not seeing this movie. I'm not going, And when I got it and watched it, I was like, well, I'll tell him we got it so he can watch it if he wants to. And I told him, he watched it, and then he calls me, and we were talking on the phone, and it's like, he goes, that brought me right back into the MCU. He goes, that movie. He goes, at the end, when she gets on that jet and the theme song kicked in, he goes, the emotions just came right back.
Yes,
and I was all in. He goes, I was all in, baby. He goes, I'm back. He goes, MCU is back, and that's what really made me like, okay, finally he's back on board, like I was.
I like how he explained why she got that vest on and she got the blonde hair. It's just it works so well.
Yeah.
In the future, I know it's supposed to be out 2 years ago, whatever like that.
Yeah.
It should have been made 10 years ago, but once you're watching the timeline of the movies, like I recently watched them in timeline order.
Timeline order, yeah. It'll slot right in between
Civil War and Infinity War.
Basically, between Civil War and Black Panther, it slides right in. Yeah.
Apart from the end scene.
Yeah. But a lot of those end credit scenes jump around a little bit. So.
Yeah. See the Marvel combine villains and change. Yeah, and we always will. They're going to pull from different sources, aren't they?
But I'm going to wait till they say his name on screen on a show or a movie.
Just being the Cog the Conqueror, yeah. That's what we're saying, yeah.
Yeah, when he was saying that, as he was going through his spiel, I've been called many things, a ruler, a titan, a conqueror. I was like, oh, it is Kang the Conqueror. But then when he came out and said, well, I'm,
But he doesn't actually call himself it, though, does it? It's Miss Minutes. But he says, is that what she's calling me? That's what he actually says. So he doesn't actually call himself.
Because I thought he called himself He Who Remains, but
No, it's Miss Minutes that says that. Because he says, is that what she's calling me? Yeah,
so I thought he said it after that whole spiel. I thought he was like, I thought he said, like, I've been called a ruler, a conqueror, blah, 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 but I am just
he called many things.
Yeah, and then he says, but I am just he who remains. I'm the one who remains of all these various versions of me. I'm the one that remains,
Yeah, I'm going to watch it all again. I mean,
me too.
The thing about this series is, this Loki series is, it's changed things. Whereas with WandaVision and Winter Soldier, nothing changed from beginning to end. It was just what happened. What was at the end was at the beginning. It happened, but nothing changed in their lives, in the MCU or anything like that. But with Loki, everything's changed.
It's changing everything, because the timelines are just totally diverging. It's like a really weird. And what also is interesting too is that it goes back to what the what's her face was talking to Hulk about when Hulk wanted the stone.
Yeah.
And she said, if you pluck this stone from my timeline, she showed the timelines diverging and this one being chaotic and turning black, and it was going all crazy. And the orange line was going all, and she's like, so it's got to come back. And she slides it in, and the times come back.
She knows about the TVA then.
So it's really interesting to go. She's got to be aware of it, and then aware of the multiverse and all that stuff, and aware that they're fixing it to make one calm timeline. Almost like you can think of like they were making it so that this timeline is calm, where a lot of other things become fractured if you let it go crazy. It'll be really interesting.
Brian says the White Vision is the only thing that was added. Yeah, I think that's probably the only thing. And I do think he's going to turn into Ultron.
And he still exists.
Like White Vision does, yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't destroyed.
I hope he turns into Ultron because he's got Ultron's memories.
Yeah. I hope so too. Yeah.
Yeah, you get proper Ultron back. It's like with Mandarin. It's like with the Mandarin. I hope we see Mandarin.
Oh, me too. I mean, we're getting a 10 rings. We're getting a 10 rings. Like from what I've been told, they're combining the Mandarin and this other character into the 10 rings guy. But because someone said out there, I don't know if it's a real person who works for Marvel or not, but someone said that they felt that the comic and the 90s Iron Man cartoon version of the Mandarin was racist by today's standards.
Yeah, they probably won't do it. Yeah.
That's why we don't have a Mandarin action figure and why we don't have a Mandarin character.
True. That's true, because it's same with Emperor Ming from Flash Gordon.
Yeah.
You probably won't ever get a Flash Gordon Emperor Ming.
But my thing is that the Mandarin from the 90s Iron Man cartoon, he had green skin. So he was turned into like an alien kind of gamma ray enhanced human being who just happened to have a goatee. And I'm like, so he can appear in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as someone with green skin and not be racist. I just don't.
And
I
like,
don't understand.
yeah, Mandarin's going to be Shang-Chi's dad, but
Yeah, he's going to be Shang-Chi's dad in the MCU. Yeah,
it's
Yeah.
like I'd rather have Trevor Slattery.
yeah. It isn't. I mean, maybe it's the name that they feel. Maybe the name Mandarin, because it's Mandarin, you know, is what they consider racist. You know, because it sort of.
See, the thing is, I
taking
never
the name of the whole group
thought of Ming as being racist. That's just me. I don't see racism. I don't see black or white or Oriental.
Well, I never saw I never saw Jar Jar Binks as racist, or the Newt Gunray, you know, but everyone claims that those are racist characters. And I'm like, I just thought they were aliens. I didn't realize they were racist.
Stereotypical characters are. They're not. There's a difference in that. There's a difference between stereotypical and racist. I think so, and I think so anyway. I think so. It's the last thing I ever wanted to think about, let alone be.
Yeah.
Racist. Because I'm not. I'm totally not. You know what I mean? That's probably why I don't see it.
Well, you know, my friend Robert told me, Rob, because I said the same thing. I don't necessarily see it all the time, because like it actually shocked me one day when one of my friends said to me, he said, well, being black, he said something like, well, being black, I have to deal with this kind of stuff all the time. And it actually hit me in the head where I was like, I had to quit. I was like, you're black. Like, I never realized that. And then it suddenly dawned on me that he is, you know, and I was like, but I don't know why I never thought of him as in that way, you know, but then my friend Rob, who's Asian, he told me that in itself is racist. And I was like, really? Is it? Like, I don't know. Because where I grew up, before I could even walk, talk, or think, like you'll see, I got some old pictures of my neighborhood, and there's Asians, blacks, Chinese, like, you know, all different. And there's a photograph of me and my friends, and there's like a blonde-haired white kid, and then a whole bunch of other people.
Yeah.
And my dad always said this is the poster for like the poster for like a unified society or something like that. You know what I mean? He said, but I think growing up that way made me see everybody as people. Yeah. You know, I see everyone as just people. I don't notice any of the differences because the differences weren't pointed out to me as a kid. I grew up with everyone as just another person. You know? Yeah. So, you know, so I don't believe my friend Rob when he says that I'm racist because I don't notice all the time. I just see everybody as people because that's how I was growing up. Yeah.
It's amazing because I was in the taxi going to the hospital yesterday, and this Asian guy driving, and he says, "Oh, because I had me Empire Strikes Back t-shirt on," and he says, "Oh, do you like Star Wars?" And we're talking about Star Wars figures. He had a collection of Star Wars figures when he was a kid, and we had a really good conversation. I quite devastated one night to get out of the taxi because we were having such a good conversation.
Yeah.
It was amazing. So I've got him to watch the channel. Hopefully, it will look. It might pop up on the chat. You never know. But yeah, it was
cool.
It was just amazing that somebody from another culture was collecting Star Wars figures, and that blew my mind really. And
it is worldwide, you know. And
yeah. But I don't know. It was nice. It was just nice. Just nice.
But it just really blows my mind, this Marvel thing, and like where they're going to go from here. Because anyone could show up. I mean, like, you know, I'm starting to think like, you know, you see that tentacle in that one, and I'm going, man, are they going to bring in those things? What were they called again? But they could bring them into Doctor Strange too, and
things with the tentacles, and I'm like, oh, that's going to be awesome if they have these giant monsters come in, and like that's what he's dealing with in the second one.
We saw the dragon, didn't we, in the trailer for Shang-Chi? So you think Fin Fang Foom's going to be popping
it's
up?
not that. Yeah, that's the other dragon.
He's got not fancy.
Yeah, it's not Fin Fang Foom, but it definitely leads you to think that Fin Fang Foom could show up at some point because he's definitely one of those kind of dragons. There's always been 4 or 5 of them in the comics, and a white silvery dragon is one of them. So I didn't actually look to see if this white silvery dragon in Shang-Chi has the same name as the one that was in the comics. I haven't looked actually to see. But
I think it's a new pop come out that's.
It's a new name. It's a new name.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did see some What If Funkos yesterday, which if they'd have had a Peggy Carter, Captain Peggy Carter, I would definitely have had that. But they didn't have it. They had Gamora with the Thanos outfit on.
Oh, cool.
They had T'Challa with the Guardian the Galaxy stuff on. So I looked at the back of the box and there was Peggy Carter. So I said, "Have you got one?" "No, sold out." Oh, damn it! I never bought a Funko yesterday.
I've seen some of the zombie versions of the Funko Marvel Pop show up, and the MODOK zombie pop looks amazing. It's really funny. And then I've seen the mech, the armored suit ones, the mech ones popping up around, but I haven't seen that one yet. I'm hoping that the mech suits end up in a comic, or I hope maybe they'll end up in What If, but because I'm really intrigued by the mech suits of the like. There's Captain America in a giant mech that looks like an Iron Man in a giant mech, and
I've seen the Thor one.
There's a Thor in a giant mech. And
Brandon's saying the Great Protector is what they're labeling him now. So is it Fin Fang Foom, but they've just changed his name?
I mean, the dragon is being labeled as the Great Protector.
So they've renamed Fin Fang Foom.
I mean, it could be, but it could be just one of the dragon, because there was a silvery white dragon. There was a goldish brown one. There's a green one. The green one is Fin Fang Foom.
Yeah.
And then there was 2 other. Was there a blue one and a red one? I think something like that.
The red one, yeah.
And so there's 4 or 5 dragons, and there always has been. But Fin Fang Foom is the one that we mostly hear about, and they mostly make toys of. They've made like 3 different Fin Fang Foom toys so far, but they've only done one toy. Toy Biz did the silver white one, and they did the goldy brown one, the gold bronze brown one.
Might look fun of that.
But now
it's funny if Doctor Strange came and fought the dragon, because he's smog.
That's cool.
Hey, Brandon.
Hey, Looney Tunes fan.
Who's your favourite one tonight?
Is the Great Protector. Okay, yep.
Right, red one. Yep. Great Protector. So is it just relabeled? Is it Fin Fang Foom being relabeled as a Great Protector, though?
We'll have to see, yeah.
Because we don't see it as racist, but other people might. And
that's true. That's true.
Plus, they want to sell these to China, don't they?
Yes,
basically.
Yeah. That's the other consideration. You're right. They want to do the films and the TV shows all around the world. So it's got to be something that the whole world can. And actually having a name like the Great Protector is something that they would name it in Japan and China, because dragons are highly revered.
China, definitely.
Yeah. So
the thing is, though, these rings are magic, and China doesn't like magic.
Yeah.
So
I wonder if they relabel it as technology, though, when the film gets released over there, because all it is a subtitle word, right?
What the Pop give you a shout out? Nice one. I like What the Pop. I like watching them.
But
it's a different dragon. Cool.
Do you know what I mean? Like, can't they just relabel, like when they do the dubbing? Let's say they dub for China and then do the subtitle.
So.
Can't they just relabel it as technology and not magic? They could say like your scientific technology instead of like your magic or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, just relabel it all as some kind of technology.
Yeah, maybe.
It's not magic anymore, right? Because the rings exist, they're physically there, you know.
Yeah, we know that, Brandon. We really know. Yeah. So the thing, there was no end of credits scene, which really
not totally near the end. No, there was just that after the page flipping happened.
Yeah, you know, we knew that anyway. We knew
that
they've already announced there's going to be a second season. But I waited right to the end of the credits. I was expecting like a Doctor Strange to pop up. Doctor Strange just to say, "What the hell's happening?" You know what I mean? Something like that. That would have been really cool. But no, I think that's the only thing that disappointed me at this last episode. I expected most of it that happened, and totally not disappointed. Apart from that, no after credits scene.
I think what it's kind of funny because like I really expected someone on Doctor Strange's level as far as characters we've known about to show up at the end of WandaVision. And then it could have made sense for this one as well.
Yeah.
To have someone at that level of, you know, even Wong, you know, show up. Yeah. Someone in that magical realm of
definitely
show up as an end credit scene to say like, oh my god, like this something's happening, you know, whatever. And it's interesting
to the Multiverse of Madness, or
I
don't know what's first. Is it Quantumania that's first?
I actually don't know.
I'll have to look at that.
See, that's the other thing that brings up this whole thing. Like, people keep talking about like what villain is going to come out of the quantum verse, you know, and like they all think there's someone in there. And in the comics, like Mr. Fantastic created essentially the quantum verse, which was the negative zone, the negative world. And there was where it was sort of outside of time and space in a sense. And they were using it to store all the supervillains that they captured. They built like a prison in there, and they would just stick them in these cells outside of time and space in this negative zone. Yeah. But what ended up happening was unknown to Mr. Fantastic and Iron Man and everybody at the time was that in that negative space there was actually a race of beings living in there, and they were sort of insectoid kind of things, and their leader was Annihilus. And one of the times when they opened the portal, Annihilus and his army came rushing through, and they had destroyed the prison, and all the prisoners were getting loose and everything, and they came through in a big wave with Annihilus and his army. And so for the MCU, again, I'm thinking, well, they've already set up the perfect alternate space that Annihilus lives in, and that's the quantum zone. You know, so it would make perfect sense if they brought Annihilus in through the quantum zone, but it's not the way that I think we're hearing everyone going, you know? So it's interesting to me that like a different villain that would completely blow my mind and be unknown to me might come out of the quantum verse, where right now it makes sense for it to be Annihilus, but they could be saving that for something down the road with the Fantastic Four, because really that's where Annihilus came from, was a Fantastic
Four. Right, so what we've got here, obviously we've got Black Widow. Shang-Chi's next.
Yeah.
Then Eternals. Then Spider-Man. Then Doctor Strange.
And then Thor.
See, Thor Love and Thunder is in the multiverse as well, because we've got Jane, Thor.
Yeah.
Black Panther maybe could be something to do with
the Marvels. Who's that? What's that one?
That's Captain Marvel. It's Captain Marvel 2. They've just changed it.
Oh, is it? Okay. Yeah. And then there's Quantumania, and then Guardians 3. Now, isn't Thor
not for 2 years yet? Well, almost 2 years.
Yeah, something else could be squeezed in between. But the Fantastic Four was at the end of that. They did the 4 at the end of that trailer. So
that's bit. I mean, that could be.
It's coming. Yeah.
Before.
But isn't Thor going to be in Guardians 3? Or did they change that?
Yeah.
So is that going to be a movie out of time, like not in the time? Like, is that movie really going to take place before Love and Thunder or something like that? You know what I'm saying?
We've got 10 movies in the next 2 years. Less than 2 years. See, I think Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is going to resolve all the
multiverse stuff.
Multiverse, and then we'll go. I mean, I don't know. Maybe not.
Yeah, I don't know.
But then you've got your TV series as well.
So what
if next?
Really, then a Hawkeye one.
And Hawkeye. So we've got.
Now, do you think this Hawkeye? Yeah, is this Hawkeye going to tie into Black Widow?
Yes.
Yelena and those.
Yes, Yelena's going to be coming after Hawkeye.
Because originally, when they first announced it, I had heard they were going to do the thing where he was only going to be in the first episode, and he was going to hand the reins over to his daughter, and his daughter was going to become the new Hawkeye.
Yeah.
But now, I'm thinking this is going to be Yelena going after him as Hawkeye.
Well, I think the first episode might be Yelena going after him. Maybe
I feel like it'll be less about. I feel like now it'll be less about his daughter. It'll be more about him and Yelena having to deal with.
He kills him in the first episode. But I think maybe Yelena and his daughter team up. I don't know.
We'll see. I don't know.
See, it's so interesting. So interesting.
And then Miss Marvel's the stretchy girl one. Yeah, the stretchy girl Marvel. Yeah.
Moon Knight.
Moon Knight's going to be awesome. I can't wait for Moon Knight and She-Hulk. And She-Hulk. I want Moon Knight and She-Hulk. I love those two. Yeah.
Holiday special. Oh, it's next year that. I thought it was this year.
Oh, Secret Invasion is going to be a TV show.
Yeah, Secret Invasion.
Interesting. See, that's the other thing. I'm wondering when they're going to start. I'm wondering when they're going to start laying the seeds, because both in the cartoons, like if you watch the Avengers cartoons, like there'll be like an episode where it ends where one of the heroes dies and they go to take the body away and it turns into a Skrull. And then they don't mention it for 3 or 4 episodes. Then they go back and they have the Skrull lying on a table in like Banner's laboratory or something.
Yeah.
Banner and Mr. Fantastic are working on it, going, yeah, this Skrull it seems like he's been holding that shape for years, so someone could have been, we don't even know where the real blah 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 was, and they did that in the comics also. They showed us at the end, like the last page of a comic, one of the dead heroes turned into a Skrull, and then it was like a year later that it really started picking up. They dropped seeds for like a year. And I'm hoping they do the same thing in the MCU. I want them to drop.
They popped up and went to WandaVision, didn't they?
Yeah, what was it at the end of the?
Yeah,
at the very, very end, right? Yeah.
So I'm just thinking when Nick Fury became a Skrull, because I think it was in Winter Soldier. When he got almost killed. Yeah. I think it was the Skrull took over from him then, and he went up to the spaceship, and then it was.
But that was at the consent of Nick Fury. It's not like Nick doesn't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but the Secret Invasion is they're unaware of it. The heroes are unaware this is going on. Where I think they know about at least Nick Fury, of course, knows about the one that's pretending to be Nick Fury. But what eventually will happen is one of these heroes that we've been following, like in the comics, it was I think in the comics it was the Daredevil girl, red suit girl, Elektra. Elektra gets killed in the comics and she turns into a Skrull. And in the cartoons, it was Spider-Woman. Spider-Woman gets killed and turns into the dead body turns into a Skrull. So I'm wondering in the MCU who we've been following, because that's what's going to happen. That's what I was hoping would happen, is that someone we've been following for like a year or two will die in one of these movies, and then it'll end up turning into a Skrull, the dead body, and you'll be like, wait a minute, when did they switch? When did the person become a Skrull in all the stuff we've been watching so far, you know?
Yeah.
And then they lay seeds in a couple other films and a couple other TV shows before they finally get to the full-on invasion, you know? Because that was the coolest part of the comics and the cartoons, was it built up over time, you know?
I'd really like to see Kang before. If it's not going to be till February 23, I want to see Kang before then.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I hope they lay seeds of it. Like, if he shows up, like, if this character is and does end up being Kang, like, let's see him evolve into Kang over little scenes, like one scene in a couple different movies or a couple different things until we get to the quantum thing, you know.
But then we've got Ironheart, which
what? Yeah, I wouldn't know what that one. What is?
It's Tony Stark's daughter, isn't it?
Oh, got you. Yep. And then Armor Wars. That would make sense.
That's heading towards Young Avengers, isn't it?
Yeah, and then that would make sense to do Armor Wars.
I'm quite interested in, because I think that's Sharon Carter.
Well, that also has the Russian, the Russian guy that they mentioned in Black Widow.
Yeah.
What was it? The Iron Guardian, was it, or something? I don't remember.
Oh, the
red Crimson Dynamo.
Crimson Dynamo. I've got him down.
Yeah. they called him. He said someone called him Crimson Dynamo, and he's like, "No, I'm the Red Guardian."
I'm Red Guardian.
But at least his name was dropped, like he exists. And
yes,
he's in Armor Wars, at least in the comics and the cartoons. He's in Armor Wars, because it's all about Armor Wars is basically people with all over the world with various versions of Tony Stark's Iron Man armor fighting it out.
That's when Sharon Carter was on the phone. So who was she talking to? I think she's somehow involved with this Armor Wars.
Yeah, she's selling technology
and selling it.
Yeah, exactly. And in an untitled Wakanda series. Huh.
Nice. So there we go. I didn't realise that Batman was so far away. I thought it was one of the upcoming ones. So this year, we've got Shang-Chi, Eternals, Spider-Man up till December. So we've got three more films this year. And we're like halfway into the year anyway. And then we've got how many more series in? Oh my God.
Two more. Three more this year.
Three more series.
Yeah.
Plus all the Star Wars stuff that's coming out as well.
See, scroll up a second here to this timeline before we get to Fantastic Four here. So, if Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, and in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, let's just say that those three films deal something with the multiverse, okay?
Yeah.
And with Loki and this guy who could be Kang, doing this multiverse stuff, okay? If he does end up being a version of Kang, and Kang is pulling the threads between No Way Home, Multiverse of Madness, and Quantumania, inside any of those three films, from my perspective, you can't take Kang down. Kang is so powerful; he's an Avengers level threat.
Yeah.
So you need a team.
The thing is, with all the Infinity Stones, how often did we see Thanos? We didn't see him that often, did we?
No, not until the final thing. Yeah. But what I mean is, they could throw threads of him being behind the scenes pulling the strings. Yeah. But what I'm getting at is, there's no film listed here that would be the end of Kang, taking care of him. So because he's a team, you would need a whole team coming together to stop Kang.
Yeah.
So
Avengers.
Yeah, so there could be another film that's not announced yet, the new Avengers, and they have all these newer characters
Even like you said, the Guardians of the Galaxy could be in the multiverse.
It could be. Yeah.
It already has, hasn't it? They've already went through all the universes.
Yeah.
In two. But like you say, we need to see Loki popping up in these. Just like
that would be cool.
Just popping up 10 seconds, and maybe Kang just popping up. Loki fighting Kang. through another portal. Spot the Loki cameo. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, see, Brandon's on the same wavelength, I think, is what I think that's what he's getting at, is that you can't see the end of this thing in just any of those films. It's got to be like a major event. It'll build up to a major event. It'll be a big film with all the characters.
The Infinity Saga. 23 movies.
Yeah.
So they're not going to end it just like that. It's going to carry on. It's going to be like, how many 3 phases we got with Infinity? So maybe another 3 phases with the multiverse of Kang and whatever else.
And one of the things that someone like me has to keep in mind is that, like, if this guy ends up being Kang, as much as it tears my heart out and destroys my vision of Kang, to just remember that the writers of this MCU has blown my mind so many times that they will end up doing it proper. I just have to trust them. I just have to trust them and believe that in the end I will be satisfied. Where no matter where
why don't every end credit scene be Loki?
yeah, right. There you go.
Where Loki is at the moment, that'd be pretty cool. Hey Tom,
how you doing?
Oh. It's time to implement the Fantastic. Yeah,
that could be.
Bringing his relative.
Because the other thing that was interesting is that he had that time device on his wrist, and in the comics or in the cartoons and stuff, Kang always had basically a chair. That the technology kept him outside of time.
Yeah.
So anything that the Avengers threw at him would not work because it's in a timeline, and when it hits Kang's bubble, it just bounces off or disintegrates because where Kang is inside the bubble is outside of time. And I guess in Loki, the way they had that sort of work was when she tried to stab him, he teleported out of the way. You know what I mean? Almost. It's like you wouldn't let nothing that exists on a timeline could touch him because he's outside of time.
Yeah, that's
so therefore
why Loki wasn't affected by the timeline, because he was in the bubble.
Yeah.
And when we went back to the TVA.
Yes.
All that timeline that changed.
Yeah.
He only remembered.
So you could say that time chair that he had in the comics and the cartoon was sort of reduced down to this wristwatch thing that he had that kept a bubble around so that that was outside of time. But what's fascinating is that in the comics and the cartoons, what happens is Mr. Fantastic, just like Brandon said, it's Mr. Fantastic or Tony Stark or sometimes Bruce Banner or sometimes a group of them, 2 or 3 or all of them. Their brains, their wizardry with technology, they end up figuring out Kang's technology that's keeping him outside of time. So it takes the brains of one or all of them to stop Kang's machines from operating, and then the strength of Captain America and the Hulk to take Kang down physically. So Kang has always been brains over brawn, and then once the brains shut down the technology, the brawn can come in and knock him out, So it's kind of an interesting way that, like Brandon brought up, like, I think you need the Fantastic Four, because if Tony is going to remain out of the picture, then you need Reed Richards to get through Kang's technology to stop Kang. Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen the Red Letter Media. Do you watch Red Letter Media?
Not usually. No, I don't. What do they do?
They was talking about Black Widow today. they were saying that they liked the bits where there were talky bits, but the action scenes were really bad. Which I disagree.
I don't know. It was a fun film all the way around, I
Oh,
thought.
I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, I know they do review movies and they have a laugh, and I don't think there's anything they really like. But
it could be their shtick. That could be their shtick, though, you know?
Yeah. But it just got me thinking. I mean, he said, what he literally said was that he liked all the talky bits, not the action. But then they start talking about Loki, and I said he watched the first episode and he hadn't watched any of those. But I thought Loki's more talky than anything else.
Yeah.
I mean, this last episode, there was one bit of action where they were fighting.
Yeah.
And it was just all talking.
I was actually going to just say that. I was going to say, like, parts of Loki that I really enjoyed were the parts where it was mostly talking, because they really like a lot. And they did that. Actually, they did it in the Winter Soldier, and there was like one or two
all the character development in that.
Yeah, there was one or two episodes where they just spent it on character development, and that's what I really like about these shows. Is you get to spend time and really get to know these characters and their motivations and what they're doing. And
it's not it's not your usual action film. It's not your usual superhero type of fodder, is it? I mean, the Avengers is superhero, blah blah blah, but there's a bit of character development. But these TV series are more character development. They're not superheroes whatsoever, are they?
Yeah.
Winter Soldier.
Well, and what saves it though is they pick. Well, sorry, what was that?
Winter Soldier and Falcon were just two regular guys with problems.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's all they really well that worked as superheroes.
But what saves it from like being bad, because a lot of times you watch a TV show and you're like, whoa, this is terrible. There's so much talking and so much, like we don't care.
Blah blah blah.
What saves the MCU, I think, is that they get brilliant actors who really know what they're doing, and a lot of really good writers and good directors and storytellers to make it the exact right pace. It's the exact amount of talking that you want, you know, and then they're right back into a little bit of an action scene or something else happens. You know, they don't overkill it. You know, it's like
that's what I was thinking this morning when I was watching it. I'm thinking a lot of talking. I think people won't like it because there's no action. There's all talking. But I loved it because I was getting all the info. I was going, come on, can. But then there was a bit of fighting. I thought, oh, there we go. That's to placate the people that want the fighting and want the action. And yeah, because you're expecting for the finale, you're expecting a big bad guy for big battle, aren't you? The boss, the end boss.
Yeah.
It just wasn't, was it?
The other cool thing was
elves, basically.
They did that fight in a way that made it make sense, though, because it's really beautiful how they say she's like it's like Loki telling Loki. Loki's telling Loki.
Yeah, don't do it. You're not gonna let this happen because you don't trust anybody.
Yeah. And then he's like, and I can't let this happen because I can't be trusted. You get that? So Loki's saying Loki won't trust anyone because Loki can't be trusted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like it's a huge catch-22 situation that both Loki are faced with at the end of this.
Of course, know what they'd do.
Yes.
Given that opportunity, but yeah.
So it's and I actually loved that part the most. It's like Loki's telling Loki that she doesn't trust anybody, and then that Loki's telling Loki that Loki can't be trusted because he doesn't trust anybody. You know what I mean? It's like a big loop. It's like you had two people talking a conversation, but really it's a big loop. Yeah. You know, it's brilliant the way they did it. I loved it.
It's like when you've got your conscience and you're telling yourself, don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic.
And it kind of throws it back to that time when Thor and Loki were leaving and they were about to get on the Guardian ship they were going to get on? And then Loki tries to stab Thor in the back again, but then Thor turns around and goes, "I've learned from my past mistakes," and you know what I mean. And it's like, and he catches Loki in the act, you know. So it's like, it's that. And this series was sort of throwing it back to that moment, you know, where, you know, Loki both can't be trusted and also won't ever trust anyone. You know, it's like a very weird. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, the emotional stuff with Bucky is I mean, it just is a superhero, but he's got issues.
Yeah.
He's just a normal guy with issues. Well, he's a 100-year-old guy with issues. But like Sam's just a guy who's struggling with whether he should take the shield or not. And that's basically what the series was about. It wasn't about the Flag Smashers. It was about those two guys.
Yeah. Dealing
with their own troubles and helping each other and becoming friends. It was just brilliant stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, Chicky, how are you doing, mate?
And the other thing I wanted to say was, if you have a moment, you know, go back and watch the Hulk, the with Norton, even though it's Ed Norton and not Rutherford. It still is interesting because with Shang-Chi and seeing that trailer and seeing the Abomination in the trailer fighting Wong, I wanted to go back and sort of like refresh my mind on what the Abomination is. And it's very interesting to rewatch that film and then sort of wonder, like, oh, where are they going to go with this new Abomination that's coming up? You know what I mean? Like, because that's some really cool stuff. And then is the leader going to come back? Because the leader's created in that film when the blood gets on it and his head swells up and turns green. So, you know, even if they got a different actor to play the leader, like you could still say, well, this was created. You know,
we're either going to get the Dark Avengers or Thunderbolts, aren't we?
Yeah, the Thunderbolts.
That's what it's leading.
Yeah. And the Abomination would be on the Thunderbolts as their Hulk, you know. So yeah. And it's funny because that's who he works with. Thunderbolt Ross is the same actor. The same actor as Thunderbolt Ross is in the Hulk movie, and he creates Abomination. You know, so to me, that's very.
Come on.
Yeah. So it was very fascinating rewatching that.
Yeah, it's not on Disney Plus.
No, I don't understand why, but
I'm sure it was because when I first started watching in Timeline Order, I'm sure it was the beginning, and then I went back to watch it again, and it wasn't there. So I don't know whether it's been removed or what. I just don't know where to find it.
I know I saw it on one of the services. I just watched it the other day. So it's up there. It's like on Netflix or Amazon Prime, one of them.
Right.
So because I just watched it like. I think it was just 2 days ago I watched it. So
yeah, I definitely need to see it. Right, I think. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think we're okay. We talked a lot of Marvel. You're probably getting
I really enjoyed it. I think it's really good.
Thanks for coming on and letting me. What's that?
You've got it off your chest.
Yeah. That's what I was just gonna say. Thanks for letting me come on and get some of this out. Well, I want to talk to somebody about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I'm glad you were available.
We can't talk to people on Twitter or in the chat because it's spoiler.
Because half of them haven't seen it yet. Yeah.
So this is spoiler territory. We haven't had a lot of viewers simply because it's spoiler, but we'll probably get viewers afterwards.
Yeah.
And Luke's been in the chat, and Luke has done a Loki Marvel's episode 6 finale breakdown and spoiler review. So go over to Any Will But Ours and check his
spoiler review
of the episode 6. I'm going to watch that straight after this live stream.
I will too then. Okay.
So thank you everybody for jumping in the chat, and it's been really good. I've really enjoyed it. We should have been doing this for every episode.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking, you know, Mark, I was thinking that for the future, that getting a couple guys together.
Yeah.
Maybe Luke would be one of them, and getting a couple guys together and just talking about some of these episodes, sort of like how Brandon and Bailey are going to do the Star Wars stuff on Paul's channel, but something like that for Marvel, some of us could do, you know? Yeah.
We're going to be there for What If.
There you go. Yeah. I'm up for it. I love talking Marvel and yeah.
Right. Thank you, everybody.
See you later.